The RBA has made another promise. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. And, well, grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article about the Reserve Bank making another promise, or a vow as they're writing it here. It feels like all of these articles about the Reserve Bank and their predictions or their, calls about what they're going to do and what's going to happen, it seems to have a very religious overtone to it. Remember, we have to have faith in the Reserve Bank and Philip Lowe to lead us through the narrow path to avoid a recession. And if we get a recession, it's your fault, you bloody bastards, because you didn't have faith in the RBA. I mean, then I guess I'm an RBA apostate. I don't believe in anything they say. Just for some reason, I don't have any confidence in their ability. Is that really the right term? Or maybe I've just believed that they're just going along with the flow. Australia's a colony on the edge of the world, and what can they really do? It's all going to be the Yanks affecting us, isn't it? And international demands for our goods and services. So let's have a look at this. Let's see this vow. Banking boss makes a cash rate vow as homeowners brace for the next rate rise. Well, we've discussed this many times on the channel here. We've had a look at the impact of these rate rises. The biggest, should we call it a cliff? It almost is a cliff, or a mountainside that you have to climb up with increased repayments, is going to be people who didn't trust the Reserve Bank when they said they're going to keep rates low until 2024 and locked in at a bloody low rate, myself included. I did it because I knew rates couldn't get any lower. Sure, they can go negative, but not with any of the rhetoric Philip Lowe says. So I trust him there when he's saying, he's not a fan of it. But that really wasn't a prediction. That was his position on a form of monetary policy. So you've got to be a little bit different there with how you're interpreting what they're saying. So I couldn't see rates going any lower. I locked in because I wanted to save expenses just to put everything in the house renovation. Other people locked in too, just to reduce their costs. What you need to do is you need to be aware that once that period ends, you're going to be up for increased costs. So then you run to the ABC, you bitch and moan and cry, going, how did they ever lend me so much? And then you get a gig being in articles, being in their crybaby articles, and I'm sure that'll pay a fortune. It has to. Why else would anyone do that? You tell me while I have a stein of coffee. I hope they get paid. I really do. So anyway, let's have a look at what Alexis wrote here. Australian households are being stretched to the limit by our cost of living crisis and rising interest rates. I wouldn't just call it a cost of living. It's also an energy crisis going on at the moment. And we'll have to see. The Reserve Bank has some small comfort for those doing it tough. Really? While the RBA is all but certain to hike up the cash rate yet again when it meets next Tuesday, Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe told a UBS panel discussion in Zurich late last week that it wouldn't be as large as many feared, claiming an interest rate increase of 0.75 percentage points is not on the table this time around. Okay. And for those of you playing at home, guys, I will bring up the cash rate. There you go. I mean, look at this chart. 3% used to be considered an emergency cash rate. Okay? We're not quite there yet, are we? We're definitely not quite there. So, in fact, he said the central bank was not looking to impose any 0.75 percentage rate rise, and in July would consider gradual steps, meaning an increase of 0.25 or 0.5 was on the cards. Okay, so it means you've got a month less of increases. Here's the thing, it's going to impact people on a variable rate mortgage, but it's not going to impact cost of living at all at the moment. It's not going to impact any of the supply side issues that we're facing. It's going to impact demand. So people's discretionary spending will go down. Will that have a dent in inflation? We'll have to wait and see. Everyone, it'll definitely impact housing. But is housing really counted in inflation? Not as much as you think. Because otherwise they would have lifted the rate a lot longer. In early May, the RBA lifted Australia's official cash rate by 25 basis points to 0.35. I mean, that's still a joke. From 0.1. A more drastic rise than the 15 basis point hikes many experts have predicted. Yeah, but trading economics were predicting a higher rate rise, which is funny. Then in June, the board pulled another shock move, hiking the official cash rate by 50 basis points to 0.85. Oh yeah, this is the one where trading economics was predicting 60 basis points. Caught experts off guard, and so called supersized rate rise. 0.5% is a supersized rate rise. It just shows you how insanely low this has been. Guys, it's just been so low. Dr. Lowe's latest comments seem to have poured cold water on suggestions the official cash rate would reach 4% in 2022. As to do so, the RBA would have to announce at least 1.75% rate hike. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Remember, this isn't his opinion on a particular approach. This is, well, predictions on if they'll need it or not. We'll have to see what happens. But he acknowledged the RBA only had a narrow path to rein in runaway inflation without, in turn, causing an economic downturn. He warned that a change in the nation's inflation psychology, which would see employees and companies doubt the RBA's credible path back to a steady level of inflation, would cause more problems via ever-rising wages and prices, leading to drastically higher interest rates. And I think it's so funny because the RBA has been arguing for wage growth. They want wage growth at a certain level before they even consider lifting the cash rate. Now, well, they're going to get it. But then all the problems with with getting that will materialize. Isn't it awesome, everyone, that we have this fantastic economic system that's centrally managed by these people at the Reserve Bank? You know? Oh, boy, you got to love it. And there are alternative theories and alternative schools, but they've lost out. At least the whole MMT stuff seems to have died down now. Hopefully it'll stay dead. So, there's a path there to have inflation come down without the economy having too much pain. It's a narrow path, Dr. Lowe said. Yeah, how many people have failed at achieving that? It's like the whole soft landing in a real estate bubble or a crisis. We'll have to see. He said changes were already afoot, with businesses feeling confident in jacking up prices, which encouraged workers to demand pay rises. It's not formal wage indexation, but it's indexation. Of a kind, because you can understand why people faced with higher inflation want compensation for it, especially when the unemployment rate is as low as it is. So there's a shift in the inflation psychology of the country, and it's not really showing up in the survey-based measures of inflation expectations. Well, isn't supply and demand in the market too? We should start seeing wages go higher with unemployment so low and the participation rate at a reasonable level, because there's going to be people competing for workers. If people start to worry that we can't chart the credible path back, then I think the shift in psychology could be quite persistent, and we know where that ends. It ends in persistent inflation, and then you have to have much higher interest rates and the economic downturn to get inflation back down. Dr. Lowe said he believed inflation would start to ease in early 2023, although it would take a couple of years to move back to the inflation target of 2 to 3%. So we're going to have some juicy inflation for a few years, everyone. So let's have a talk about this. Do any of you at all have faith in the RBA charting us to out of a recession, getting inflation under control? Or am I the only one that really am preparing for the worst? You tell me. You tell me in the comments, guys. Anyway, we'll have to see where this goes. Hopefully we'll avoid recessions. There's some good things to recessions. All the shit businesses, all the people that have overextended themselves, they hopefully disappear. All the zombie companies that aren't at making any money need to go. If only we could get rid of the zombie politicians and bureaucrats, that'd be great too. But, there needs to be some creative destruction in an economy to create opportunity and space for new people to enter the market, to grow and to create opportunities themselves. That's what happens. We seem to be so adverse to any struggle these days, any challenges, just in the general psyche of all Australians. And you can't blame them because it's been so long since we've had a recession. I mentioned the recession we'd recently had, and another viewer said, yeah, that wasn't a real recession. You can see I'm covering myself there, but you can see it. It wasn't a real recession compared to those in the past. What do you reckon, everyone? Anyway, we'll have to keep an eye on it. I don't know how many of you have faith in the RBA, but, I'm not going to be up the front there cheering them. Hopefully it'll all work out, but prepare for the worst. As always, thanks for watching. If you're a fan of the channel and enjoy the content I find and talk about here, there are a few ways you can help out. You can support us financially via YouTube or Patreon, use any of our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Finally, have a great day, guys, and I will see you all in the next episode. A narrow path. Oh, boy. It's all fun and games. Just don't go pissing away your money, guys. Save and be prepared.